Hey y'all, so I'm listening to Timcast right now, and he's got a guest on from the Mises Institute, Dave Benner, is I think his name. And Tim lately has been going off on libertarianism, has been talking about how it's utopian and stuff like this. No man, it's not utopian. You and your idea of limited government, that's utopian. We have no example throughout human history of that working. So quit throwing shade at us libertarians. We have a moral argument for the things we believe. And we have the moral high ground on this. We don't have much, but at least we have that. We have well-reasoned arguments, and they're moral. Taxation is theft. Right? You can't just change the name of theft, call it taxation, and claim it's something else. That's like a second grader's trick. We own ourselves, and we own our property. So whenever you talk about how, oh, well, you couldn't have private roads, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we could, right? We could have them, and it would be moral. Now, would it work as well? Would you think it works as well? I don't know, and I don't care. What I care about is the moral aspect of it. We know that private roads exist. We know they've existed since the beginning of time. They exist now, and they work well. Now, you throw up a example of you getting a ticket on a private road or at a private parking lot at some point in your life. Yeah, dude. Like, nothing's perfect. We're not saying that what we're offering you is perfection. You're claiming we're utopianists, but we're not. There will be abuses. There always have been, and there always will be. We're living, we're humans. So enough with the straw man you're building. And you say, well, you couldn't have, private police forces. That wouldn't work because they would just fight each other. You have to have some larger entity like the federal government to stop that. No, you don't. We have private security forces as it is. We've always had them. It works. You could make the same argument you're making, you could make for having any sort of competing businesses, grocery stores, things like that, arms manufacturers, things like that. Oh, you couldn't have competing grocery stores because they would just fight. Like, no, they would fight in the economy for market share. But private grocery stores actually cooperate with each other and help each other out. You couldn't have private insurance companies because they would compete and they would fight each other and blah, blah, blah. No, we have private insurance companies. Keep digging. Keep throwing these straw men up. No, dude. There's nothing unique about private security that the government has to do it. We can take care of it ourselves. And not only that, that's not the point. The point is it's moral. Stealing from us through taxation is immoral. Telling us what we can and can't do with our property is immoral. If somebody wants to own a road and wants to exclude you, okay, I guess. Maybe we'll all get together and boycott the road. If somebody wants to own a grocery store and exclude you, okay. Private property rights are a basic human right. And then you talk about how, it's a market failing because the vax mandates, they were pushed by private businesses. Dude, we're living in 2024. Elon Musk showed us how private Twitter was before he bought it, whenever he let loose all those files. So you can no longer say that we live in a free market economy. Some of it is, but we know for a fact that the government's behind the scenes manipulating everything. They are an evil organization. And for you to say that, oh no, it's a market failing because private businesses were going to have vax mandates. Yeah, and in the future, you willing to bet that we're going to find some documentation showing that the government was pushing that on at least some of them? They were, either directly or indirectly. Now, since we have a society that is completely steeped in the largest government in the history of the world. Don't you think it's a bit of bad form to be trying to pull crap like that? We have example after example of the government working behind the scenes to influence businesses. So stop with the whole, it was a market failure. And also, let's say that we did live in a utopian society. Not utopian, libertarian society. So what if some random business wants to have some arbitrary rule? I am fine with arbitrary rules as long as it's made by the people that own whatever property we're talking about. You have a house, you can have any arbitrary rule you want to about your house. You have a business, the same applies there. So if the business wants to have the arbitrary rule that, yep, we're going to have vaccinations or wear masks or whatever, so be it. And then we can all boycott you. And hopefully, if you're going against our values, we can get you to stop or get you to go out of business. And then you keep bringing up monopolies. Dude, your whole thing on how governments are here to stop monopolies, it's so disingenuous. Read some Thomas Sowell. Read some Rothbard. Government creates monopolies. There are only a handful of monopolies in the history of the freaking world that wasn't directly caused by the government. So is it possible for a monopoly to arise? Yep, totally possible, but they're not going to stay there. There's going to be competition in the free market that's going to supplant the monopoly. Oh, you say, but no, they could charge higher prices. Yeah, and that's a market signal. In the free market, if you charge higher prices, that's a signal, and people are going to come into that and try to take your market share. It's basic economics, dude, and I know you know this, but I think you're trying to trick simple-minded libertarians, there are a few of us around, into voting for Trump. It's freaking obvious, dude. So stop.